This is a Cameroon Journal editorial, and the subject is, who is Dr. Monzu working for? Again, the subject is, who is Dr. Monzu working for? A few days ago, Dr. Monzu published his diagnosis of the current Southern Cameroon's crisis, concluding that an Anglophone Dialogue Forum, ADF, is the way forward to disentangling the political gridlock that has been characteristic of Cameroon in the last 10 months. Until the publication of that diagnosis, Dr. Monzu wasn't only known to be at the forefront of the Southern Cameroon struggle. He was a celebrated Southern Cameroonian coming out of the 1991 Yaoundé Tripartite Conference. According to Wikipedia, and I quote, as a CPD and member of the technical committee in charge of drafting the Constitution of Cameroon, Dr. Monzu strongly advocated the return of the country to a federal system of government because he sincerely believed that such a system would be the best framework for recognizing, upholding, and protecting the Anglophone identity and giving Anglophones their full rights as citizens of the country. End of quote. At the All Anglophone Conference in Boya in April 1993, it was Dr. Monzu who led the charge so eloquently on the marginalization and discrimination against Southern Cameroonians. In fact, that earned him not only the leadership of the struggle, it endeared him even more to a whole lot of our people. 1 year later, in 1994, at the AAC2 in Bamenda, he couldn't help but wipe his own tears when he spoke so emotionally on the dire urgency to restore the sovereignty of the Southern Cameroons as obtained in 1961. Why the Boya Declaration emerging from AAC1 called upon La République du Cameroon to effect immediate constitutional amendments to restore the 1961 Constitution. The Bamenda Declaration, which had shifted towards the independence hardline, addressed to La République du Cameroon, stated that if the federal state was not restored within a reasonable time, Southern Cameroons would declare its independence. And we know that Dr. Monzu was party or signatory to both declarations. In June 1995, still, Dr. Monzu was yet among the delegation led by J.N. Foncha, including S.T. Mona, Ambassador Forsong, and others to the United Nations. At the United Nations, Monzu and others presented a petition against the annexation of the Southern Cameroons by the French. By the French Cameroon. And later in the same year, Dr. Monzu was equally party to a referendum conducted by the SCNC that voted 99% in favor of independence for the Southern Cameroons. Year after year, Southern Cameroon's lawyers demanded judicial reforms, but each time, only some cosmetic redress was made. Southern Cameroon teachers demanded reforms too, but in their stead, same cosmetic reforms are being made unilaterally from Yaoundé without consultation of Southern Cameroon's civil society. While the regime preaches dialogue, they have since arrested Southern Cameroon's leaders like Anya Paul, Barrister Agbo Bala, Dr. Fontemneba, Mancho BBC, plus Southern Cameroon's journalists, teachers, and hundreds of others, and have them locked up behind bars in Yaoundé. Southern Cameroon's civil society organizations like the SCNC and the consortium that ought to be the legitimate groups to dialogue with have since been outlawed. The SCNC, it must be noted, is a grandchild of Dr. Simon Monzu. The point in all these analogies is that traveling this road this long, talking dialogue since 1991 to date, what do we have to show for it? And why does Dr. Monzu now think that if he calls for an Anglophone dialogue forum, Yaoundé is going to listen and do what they have not done in almost a generation? In 1996, owing to overwhelming public outcry, mostly from southern Cameroonians, Paul Biya revised the Constitution of Cameroon. But in that constitution, Yaoundé still maintained overwhelming control, a big grip over the rest of the regions. Instead of giving the people a federal structure where local governments would generate, collect, and manage their own taxes and initiate local economic development, in its characteristic cosmetic way of resolving national issues, Biya's only change has been the change of the appellation, hitherto known as provinces, to regions. Appointed governors, appointed divisional officers, and appointed government delegates instead of elected governors, mayors, and councillors still run local government in Cameroon in the 21st century. And the problem is more or even compounded by the fact that these governors and SDOs, particularly those sent to our territory, barely can speak in the language that the people understand. Look at Biya's recent assignments of SDOs, for instance. How many of those SDOs sent to the southern Cameroons are English speaking or English speakers? You will not count even 3 of them. Isn't this the same type of judicial and administrative injustice and tyranny that provoke our lawyers and our teachers to escalating the current crisis? If Dr. Monzu is in consultation with Yaoundé, as we believe here at the Cameroon Journal that he is, then he must be aware that the only result that will emerge from his dialogue forum will be calls for a return to school in September and calls for people to register massively for next year's presidential election or municipal election, legislative elections. And they will make us believe how transforming those elections are going to be. And by the way, on whose side is Dr. Monzu on this time? Read the syntax and flow of his press statement announcing the ADF. It comes across more like one of those CPD and press communiques trumpeting a one and indivisible Cameroon than from the man who ferociously fought for a return to an independent southern Cameroons. After Fumban, after the tripartite in 1991, after the many revisions of the Constitution, and after the dialogue forums held recently, led by Barrister Bala, Harmony Bobga, Wilfred Tassang and others, why does Dr. Monzu believe that his national dialogue is going to do what other forums have not done? Does he know something that we do not know? If Paul Biya were dead, perhaps we did hope that with a new man in charge, such a forum would yield results. But Biya is still so much in charge. And even if he were to die anytime soon, what exactly is going to change with a new leader, considering the fact that the real face behind the mask here are the French? For Dr. Monzu to think that dialogue is going to solve a generation's problem is a joke. Dr. Monzu says in his statement that the idea is already gaining lots of steam among different interest groups in the country. But he fails to mention a single one of them. Does he think that even if there was such a forum, just any Tom and Dick will speak for southern Cameroonians? At this point, it is very clear that even Dr. Monzu himself is no longer qualified to speak for southern Cameroonians. See the groups he mentions as having consulted. They are SDF John Frundi and the other political groups that care more for what they get before they die than what their children get after they are gone. He mentioned the Bilingualism Commission of Peter Mafani Mosonge, the very man who epitomizes hate and divisiveness among Southern Cameroonians. A man like Peter Mosonge, known for berating other Anglophone Cameroonians as Graffiti people, come no go. Is this the type of person that Dr. Monzu thinks should be speaking for Southern Cameroonians? Should we expect Paul Atanganji too, or Ngole, Patrick Ekema, Achidi Achu, among others, to sit on that table? If Dr. Monzu was still the hero and patriot that we knew in the 90s, if he was still the fighter that we knew, if he was still the nationalist that he was, he must have come to terms with the majority of us who are convinced that dialogue hasn't worked and there is no longer any evidence that it is going to work. It has failed. And it failed not because we rejected it. It failed because La République du Cameroon has never for once made any honest effort towards dialogue. How many of our brothers, sisters, fathers, and mothers would have to be put in jail before Dr. Monzu realizes that dialogue has failed? How many of our people have to be killed before Dr. Monzu comes to terms with the fact that dialogue has not worked? How many of our children would have to be brutalized and raped before Monzu wake up to the fact that dialogue is no longer an option? How on earth can Dr. Monzu be preaching dialogue when La République du Cameroon is busy wiring our towns and cities, installing surveillance cameras to monitor and arrest all of us? How many cities and towns in La République du Cameroon are under 24/7 monitor or surveillance? How on earth Dr. Monzu can even think that we should have some dialogue while our leaders remain behind bars for leading dialogue? Some, like Paul Anya, have not even been charged with a crime. At the Cameroon Jonah, we have no doubt that CPDM elites have seen in Dr. Monzu the mechanism through which to infiltrate and sabotage this struggle with his sudden keys of federalism at a time when the people overwhelmingly are asking for full sovereignty. Dr. Monzu wrote that it is an overstatement to assume that most people want total independence. Well, does he really want to know what a majority of the people think? Then why not instead be persuading La République du Cameroon to conduct a referendum on the subject? Until that is done, the elastic has been stretched to its breaking point. We at the Cameroon Journal call on President Ayuk Tabi Julius to, as a matter of policy, declare unequivocally that the time for dialogue with LRC, La République du Cameroon, is past. It was over since AAC2 in Bamenda in 1994 with the declaration that came out of there. The only form of dialogue that President Ayuk and his team should be entertaining should be a dialogue that follows a referendum. That means a simple referendum in the Southern Cameroons would have to be organized to let the people vote either to remain with La République du Cameroon or constitute an independent state of the Southern Cameroons. Should the majority vote to remain with La République du Cameroon, only there and then can we begin to talk about dialogue. The kind of dialogue that resolves issues like the form of federation we want to have. This, we believe, is the way to go. It will be inconsistency of the highest order to have gone this far and sacrificed so many lives talking of independence to then revert to talking about dialogue. Is there any hope left that we can actually dialogue ourselves to independence? Absolutely not. We better mean what we say and what we want. And once more, Skalkouf must draw the line so that La République du Cameroon knows that the only option they have is to agree to a referendum. Again, you heard this from the Cameroon Journal. You can read the script of this editorial on our website at CHAIR.13. And you can reach us at editor@Cameroon Journal. Again, the email address is editor@Cameroon Journal. I am Cris, and thanks for listening today.